And I think to be an entrepreneur, you need to have passion, you need to have spirit. It's just something that makes it that killer, you might call it the killer edge or something, but it's a passion of never give up, to do or die. Because in business, like in anything else, like I play football. As a matter of fact, I do it with my kids half my age, and I enjoy going there because to me, every time that I go there, I learn a lesson, a beautiful lesson. A lesson in how to temper my anger, a lesson to how to come back from a completely hopelessly lost game. Sometimes you're 4-0 or 5-0 and you can actually lose it. You can actually win it. And on the contrary, and a sense of overconfidence can come and flip you the other way. From a point of 5-0, you can even land up the other way. So I think entrepreneurship is all about setting a clear, defined goal. Also wanting to do something that you're very passionate about. I just read yesterday about Walt Disney. I mean, he said, if you have a dream, no matter how silly it sounds, just believe in it blindly. Now, I think that blind belief or obsession or passion, as you would like to call it, is what entrepreneurship is all about to me. I think it's just the word that's come in new, but I think the what's been done has been done for centuries. I think if you take India as a country, I think forever and always we've had trades of spices and various things that's been happening for eons. It's just that now, with the advantage of a modern thing, we tend to categorize something in some term or the other. Entrepreneurship has been there from, as far as I know. I've heard of stories from people who are old, or telling you beautiful stories that kind of churn the passion in us. As I said, my dad's brother worked in a company that was quite established. It was a very old, reputed company from Kerala. It was his own elder brother's company. But I think he virtually did work there as an employee, not much more. Because he didn't have any, if he had initiatives, he could not bring them to the fore. And as a young kid, I used to believe that it was a company that had a huge amount of potential, but I did not think it was optimized to the maximum. So I used to wish if I were the owner of that company, what would I have done? Which is why sometimes with some of my staff now, I actually honestly ask them, don't just be employees, be thinkers. Because having 100 people doing physical work is one thing, but having 100 people think for the company is a very powerful equation. If your people can start thinking for your company, I think you don't need to tell anybody to work. I think it's a passion that drives from within, and it's all, the objective for everybody is towards one particular straightforward goal. Everybody is pointed to one direction. Now, as I said, from the time I've been a child, I was always dreaming that if I had this company, what would I done? Which is why when I came down, I did not preferably want to work with somebody. I did try working. For a year, I worked with an uncle of mine for nearly 6 months. And to me, what broke my heart, he was one of my heroes as a child. I always believed in the concept of creating heroes from a distance. You need to imbibe values. You cannot be learning everything from yourself. You need to see, look around, and that's where you learn. I mean, I state this as one of my favorite examples, is about how Drona and Eklavya in the story of Arjuna being taught. I think that's a beautiful example of how, if somebody is very passionate about something, you can learn from a distance. And I think how Eklavya went to Drona, asked him to be taught to be an archer, but Drona being a very strong thing for his disciple, Arjuna, he did not want to have a kind of a competitor, or rather he dismissed him. And at one point, as he taught Arjuna, he watched from a distance and learned. And that degree of passion, that commitment, and that, even though the guru was not watching, he regarded him as a guru. And that he learned all his lessons without ever realizing. I mean, the guru ever realizing that he was actually giving somebody lessons. And at the end of it, when it came to a thing, and he came and told him that I want to, I've done it and I want to give you Guru Dakshina. The Guru realized he could be a possible competitor for his best disciple. Asked him and had him take his thumb off. So I believe like that. To me, I had created a few gurus for me from a distance. I've learned, there was one Mr. V. Ramachandran, who used to be the manager in a company called Ambattur Clothing. There was one of my uncles called Mr. Mamuti, who was a timber businessman who came from scratch. There was another, quite a few other people. Each person whose values I imbibed or felt were valuable, which I could learn from them. So the thing is, one place where I felt a little heartbroken is when I joined somebody's company as an employee in a timber business. General equation was, when somebody went and asked for leave, they were refused leave, saying that we are tied for people, you cannot go. But what broke my heart is when I went and asked for leave, I was told that you can go without even being asked when you're coming back. That kind of, made me feel very heartbroken. Because it was one of my heroes who told me that. I mean, he didn't realize. He was doing it in good faith. He just told me, he thought maybe I was not valued enough or smart enough to create value for the organization. But it kind of hurt me a little, and I decided to leave from there. Then I joined Skypack, and I worked there for a year. And even there I felt the same equations. The company may have been good, but I think management is all about trying to also understand what your people need. Now, if you tell a young guy who's hardly 21, who stays out of his home state, that he has to do 8 calls a day at a distance of 30 kilometers away from town, and if the petrol price at that time was 30 rupees a litre, and you could do around 20 or 25 litres a day, if you did 30, you multiply it even by 22 days, that's 700 bucks a month, 660 or 700 a month. Which means if a guy had to stay somewhere at that time when rentals were maybe a few thousands, and let's take his food cost of around 1,000, logically you would have to understand that the guy needs a certain amount of money to do his job fairly. And if you don't do that, then how does a person do his job well? So unfortunately, when I went for my first interview, I was so petrified that I stammered. And because of stammering, the managers there, I presume, that's where a beautiful manager comes. There were 3 managers, 2 senior and 1 junior. Unfortunately, the junior manager was leaving that day. This was the last day. So after the interview, they gave me the thing saying that, Harris, you're approved, you can join, and we will give you the letter. So I asked what would be my question. They said, you'll be marketing training. I said, no, you said marketing executive is what? He said, no, you have a stammer. So that's a problem. So I tried explaining to them that I did not have a stammer. It was more out of nervousness. It was my first interview ever. The other person, without even my having told him, understood. But unfortunately, he was leaving. But as he left, he gave me one of the most beautiful pieces of advice. What he told me was, Harris, please remember. Well, he asked me, Harris, do you have a stammer? I said, no, I do not have a stammer. He said, why were you stammering? I said, I was nervous. He said, Harris, why do you need to be nervous? Please remember that no matter whichever interview you go to next time, remember, as much as the company as much as you need the job, the company needs your services as badly. If you're a good person. And I remember that always. I remember that wherever I went, if I was going somewhere, I need to create value. I see a lot of youngsters today making that very, very, very basic mistake of believing that we work for a company. I can spend time on Google, I can spend time on Facebook, because the company does not know what I'm doing. I'm getting paid for nothing. But what he does not realize is he's creating a culture in himself, which tomorrow, when he grows to a senior level, he cannot get out of. And finally, it's only one thing that pays off: performance. It's not just the company's day you're losing, you're also losing your own day. There's one day in your life that you're missing out on. And after 20 years or 30 years, when you sit back and look at yourself, it's like a file with 20 or 30 CDs that you have. You pull out each CD. If each of them don't say excellent or outstanding or good at least, it will matter where you land up at that time. If you've been average all along, you end up being average. And I think I feel these kind of things come about from, it's got to be passion. Because I go play a game of football, to me it's not winning or losing that matters. It's the fact that I completely enjoy myself right through the game, and I play it even if I'm losing 20-0. There was one time when we were playing, the 1 or 2 people who decided the team, which was partly our fault also, because when they said let's split the teams, I said no, you guys go ahead. They were a little unfair with the way they made the team. So all the best guys went to them, and we had kind of a weak set of people. So I realized, I was quite upset, and I told them, but they said no, this is a team, we cannot change it. You only said, fine, I'll take it. But it was heartbreaking because they kept pumping in goals one after the other. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9, and my team was desolate, completely heartbroken. I said, guys, it doesn't matter. You can't change the fact that you can't change the 13-0 to 0 all. We can try for 13 all, but at least let's try and see if we can score 1 goal back and see if we can keep them to thing. So right through the game, even though we were losing terribly, we didn't let the tempo down. At the end of the game, we felt we played it beautifully. We actually enjoyed the game more than them. Because for them it became maybe a little boring, but for us it was exciting all through, because we were trying to just score a few goals and trying to prevent them from scoring goals. So for us the game was very intense, but for them maybe it would have been boring. So I feel you don't ever need to see anything as a lost cause. In business I see that every day there is always one different set of problem that can crop up. But if you have brilliant anticipation, if you have brilliant thing, you can be prepared for the worst. Food shop is, if you put it simply, a juice shop. We sell juice, but it's maybe packaged a little more nicely. One of the most biggest USPs we had was people felt that we had a shop that was nice, clean, and quite competitive at the pricing thing, and also an experience that they've never had before. We just reinvented the wheel. The wheel was already existing. There were juice shops all over Chennai, and the tea shop that was there 18 years ago before mine is still flourishing. So I do not like the concept of saying that, what is the difference between you and the other roadside juice shops. I mean, he also has the right to live. I need to live and let live. And I'm happy that he's doing well. And what I'm also seeing it is, people who drink there today will aspire to drink in my place tomorrow. And he'll create a new set of customers. And I think that's the beauty of India. I see that India, even though we complain, we criticize, we find a lot of faults, I think it's a beautiful country, and all the more reinforced when you travel outside the country. We say there are taxes, we say there are this, yes, there are issues, there are problems, things. But I think the ethos of the country is there is a strong bonding. No matter what happens, that will never get broken. It will never ever get broken. Because I think if you go back, centuries, there's always been a kind of bonding that everybody has, which can be broken every once in a while by some misunderstandings and misgivings. But I think when I went to Dubai, I realized that even though there were no direct taxes, there are 100 ways that they make it difficult for you. If you want to get a license, which is good in a way, because it sets the rules, sets the things. But for a poor person, maybe if I had been in Dubai today, I would have found it difficult to have built a fruit shop. Maybe the fruit shop is what it is because I had the opportunity in India. Because even though I had virtually nothing on hand, I was able to begin a business, build it up to what it is today. We are doing a turnover which may not be very much by any standard today, maybe 10 crores now. But we've had inquiries close to 1,500 inquiries for franchise, which is where I feel sometimes as a first generation entrepreneur, at one time you hit the crossroad. And that is where you need professional advice and guidance. You need somebody who has been there, done that, or helped other companies, or maybe somebody who's senior who's already done business before. That I think is the issue that we're facing. One of the most valuable things I will tell you is, never throw away any idea thinking it's a bad idea. Because if that were the case, you wouldn't have had the Velcro, you wouldn't have had the safety pin. It was a very simple idea, so simple that mostly we throw them away saying it's so simple, why? That means, everybody must have thought of it. That is where the pain point starts. When you do not believe any idea of yours to be valuable. Take it, put it into action. If it fails, so what? So likewise, when it came to the fruit shop, my partner had told me a few times, Harris, since we are from Malabar in Kerala, let's start a Malabar restaurant here. So we were just joking, in the polite way. Sometimes when you're frustrated with your business, things are not going your way. You kind of tend to, just maybe for fun, maybe out of seriousness, maybe out of frustration. So one day, my partner suddenly came up and said, Harris, there's this company, a small shop in Purshavakkam, which is a very, it's an area with a lot of the North Indian community. There's a lot of fruit shops selling and they're doing so well there. So I said, yeah, good, great. We didn't bother. Suddenly when the shop came up, when I called him from here and said, Salim, got this place, because these people called me, this person was the architect whom I told him I'd never taken in business from. Called me and said, Harris, will you come over to Greams Road right away? I came rushing down and I asked him what, he said, no, come right away. I came down and he said, Harris, this place that we have here, do you want to have a look at it? I said, yes. So he said, if you want it, you have to take it today. I said, sir, I have no idea what I'm taking it for. He said, no, if you want it, you take it today, I'll give it to you today. But you have to decide right now. So I said, yes, I'm taking it. I didn't know for what. So I called Salim. And Salim, this is this place that's come up, the person that I was talking to, and he said, oh, okay. He said, yeah, Harris, we'll go for it, we'll take it. So we decided, we took the place, signed the agreement also the same day. And then we sat and thinking, what do we need to do next? So I would never say a brand is a brand unless you're really massive and big and things. Even if you're really massive, big and thing, I think a brand is not made in a day. A brand is what evolves. You take anything, you work away at it, you make a beautiful product out of it, a product, deliver good service out of it. And over time, what people say is what is a brand. It's not what you say. I see a lot of youngsters starting a new business saying we are a brand, we'll be a brand that is all over India, will be a brand. I don't think you're a brand till people start calling you a brand. Even today, I don't call myself a brand, my customers do. I think that's what matters. And I think the fruit shop never was a created idea, it was an evolved idea. We started off with the idea of starting, like I said, once a place came, Salim and I sat down, we discussed, and he said, Harris, what we do? I said, I'm not sure. Then he said, Harris, let's start the fruit shop. First he said, Malabar restaurant. I said, neither do you know how to cook, nor do I. We can't cook to save our lives, so we might as well do something. And then he said, let's start the fruit shop. I said, that's a wonderful idea, let's start the fruit shop. But I said, again, fruit shop, just fruits, what will you do? You and I can't be sitting cross-legs and selling fruits. Then we finally, one thing led to another, we started the juice shop. So one of the nicest things that I remember that when we started off is that he said, Harris, we need to put AC in. I said, we can't afford it. We cannot put an AC in. He said, no. He put his foot down and said, we need to put an AC. I said, okay too. Even though I was not so sure, because I felt it would cost a lot. At that time, ACs were not so normally. So we put the AC. But I think those little things made the difference. We made the name Fruit Shop on. When he asked me, Harris, what name? I immediately, instinctively told him Fruit Shop on Greams. There was no second name discussed. And then when we started off, we were there 24/7. We were going to the market, we were closing the shop at night, we were with the boys. We had just 3 boys then. One night all 3 of them went and crashed. Next day there was nobody to open the shop and make the juice. So one of us stood at the counter making the bill, the other person served the juice, made the juice and served and whatever. Cleaned the table, did everything. I mean, that's the spirit. That I think is the spirit of entrepreneurship. A willingness to walk the talk, to actually get down to it if a crisis happens. Perfection comes from keeping on doing what you keep doing regularly with commitment and thing day in, day out. I think automatically perfection will set in. And if you really genuinely believe, that we will never compromise. We go to the IPL, we go to the biggest events in town. One thing we always keep as a standard. We never allow our quality to compromise. Many people make the very elementary mistake of going to that place to make a killing. When you go into a big show or event, you just make sure that you compromise on the quality and everything and go there to just make short-term profits. Something from the beginning we've always decided is no compromise. If you give what the customer expects or more. And we've done that not because it was flamboyant or stylish or thing. It was because we genuinely felt that's the way it's got to be. A person comes to you with purely good intention of having a good glass of juice. And if we don't serve him anything as good or better, he's going to go back disappointed. And a disappointed customer is never going to go and talk about your product to anybody or talk about you to anybody. There was one time when a lady walked in and she wanted pomegranate juice. She was a principal or the head of a ladies' college or a hostel. She walked in, ordered a juice, kind of a tough, nice lady but tough. And we gave her the pomegranate, she spat it and ran out of there, actually calling us names. So we were heartbroken. We realized that nobody could have drunk the pomegranate juice. It was full of seeds. The boy didn't know how to make it. Neither did we. But we knew pomegranate juice was served everywhere and some other places, so we said let's get that out. But then the next 2 or 3 days we were obsessed. We went down to R&D, we sat down, we worked it, and finally we nailed it. Then as we saw the lady, we virtually, called her, dragged her in, convinced her to sit and try us out again, and she did, and she was thrilled to bits. We have a little glass we give for kids. Juice when a family comes with 4 people, there's a small child with them. Invariably the child tries to drag the fathers or things or is irritated or annoyed. So we give them a little baby glass compliment. And the child is so excited and the parents are also excited. It's not meant to impress or please. We just did what came from the heart. I think when you are natural, it is not hard to do. When you try to prime it too hard is when, I think that instinct should be there. With that degree of passion. If you really love doing something, you won't fail on it. I told you earlier, problems always come. I think every day opens up like a new book, a new page on a book. So you don't know what the story is going to be. There was one instance when we have this parking lot here. Parking was a serious problem for us earlier. We anticipated that parking would become even more painful. And in that anticipation, we started putting our plans in place. And then we worked towards ensuring, because you cannot always be, we can abuse the cops, abuse everybody else. But sometimes you got to look inward and see where you're going wrong. So we realized that parking was going to be an issue and it was a serious problem. And we looked around and we found solutions. That's why I realized from IIT once when, if you read this, it says simplify, communicate, optimize and grow. Sometimes we take the simplest problems, complicate them and don't try to find answers for them, even though the answer is staring you in the face. I remember from IIT once we had that problem in Bombay when they had the terrorist attack and all that. Everybody was paranoid, rightly so. And Chennai IIT was having the Sarang festival. The youngsters come and we sell tickets for them every year. We support cultural and social causes normally. We do not do it for commercial reasons. We do not charge any money, but if we find the equation is fair, we support without any conditions. The only thing we insist that the name we mention saying tickets available at food shops, people know where it's being sold at. So when they came and said, will you sell our tickets? I said, game, please put them up, and everything was done, finalized. Then they said, you have to, one small issue, for the rock show, when you allow people to come, when you sell the tickets, you need to get the name of every person who buys a ticket. That's absurd. You guys are asking for the impossible. I cannot possibly tell somebody, and most people don't know who they're going to call. They just randomly buy 10 thinking that if the show is busy, a big show, then we cannot get tickets, so their anticipation they buy. But I was amazed to find that, and thereafter I assumed that they would give us a beautifully printed paper on which they'd have all the columns done and all that. I said, yeah, what about the thing? He said, yeah, we'll give you something. They went across the road, picked up a book for 30-page booklet and brought it over and, gave it to us and said, you fill the columns, you enter the names. The boys looked at me, I said, do it. And I walked away. And I was amazed that on the day of the show, they were actually asking people who walked in to show their ticket with the name written at the back. And they were actually physically cross-verifying. And I just realized at that minute, it just struck me. It was quite an amazing thought to think. Sometimes problems are so simple, the solution is right there staring in your face, like the boys did. They didn't go in for any complicated procedure. They just took the simplest way to deal with it, and it worked. And that's when I realized sometimes we all love to complicate things even though there's a solution staring in your face. And we just keep saying, no, there's no solution. And then somebody just comes casually, just takes something, does it and walks away. I mean, that's as simple as how life is sometimes. I love criticism, in the sense, even though personally when I get it, I get shocked and angry and resentful and think. But when I reflect on it later, I try to understand if there is value in it. In a fruit shop, we realize that a lot of customers have issues with the juices, and they were never telling us, which was dangerous. If you don't tell me, you tell 100 other people. But if you tell me, you purged your pain. So we came out with a little paper that said, because I care, please tell us where we go wrong. So most people, when they come and complain, say, Harris, it's because we love your shop. I'm sorry to tell you this, but this is first statement most people told us, because they were embarrassed. So I actually put out whatever they were saying on a piece of paper and came out with it saying, because I can, please tell us where we can improve, what is our fault and thing. And then it was like a response to it. Now what we've done is we put it on the internet, and we get so many opinions, good, bad, ugly. But we try and respond to the ones that are, because the good ones are normally more of a thing and we say thank you. But with the other ones, we actually take it up, follow it up and ensure that the customer gets a feedback and things, and we sometimes even go to the extent of calling them personally to talk to them. And we give them feedback as to what is the action taken. So I feel that's how I cannot be possibly drinking all my 1 lakh or 2 lakh juice that I sell in a month. So it is various other people who drink it. If I don't know what they think, then I'm asking for trouble. And I feel the best way to stay in business is to feel the pulse of your customer. If you don't give him what he wants, then I think it's going to be very hard for you to stay in your business. There's somebody else, and I also feel very strongly, you are only as good as you are. That is, if we actually ran a restaurant, which was an American-Italian restaurant with a friend of ours called Sudhakar, who was a partner, who was a chef. He ran his own Greek restaurant in Iowa, worked with Burger King for 10 or 12 years. And he was the one who ran the restaurant, we just gave administrative support. So one day I remember there was a very famous Indian brand, very powerful brand. They had very huge brand ambassadors. They were opening across the road and it was a huge, big show. They had the whole works, they had the entire city going gaga over it. And my partner, Sudhakar, looked down and said, Harris, damn it man, those guys are going to kill us. That's when I told him that I think we're only as good as we are. Nobody's ever going to come to us because they are lousier than us. They'll only come to us because they like our product. So no matter who comes across the road, focus on your quality, focus on your product. We have 13 stores in Chennai and 5 in Dubai. Okay. If you need to grow with 13 stores that we have, we're finding it not so easy to run it because we run with virtually the existing setup that we had from earlier. But I feel that for a company to grow to the next level, you need to start getting your second line and third line strong and solid. So that tomorrow, God forbid, anything can happen. One of us could die. The company has to exist. Because close to 100 families depend on it. and it is a beautiful company, and it has not been easy building it. So why should it go or become messed up if something happens to two other key people? So if you create a second line in command, bring about a set of people who are competent and capable, or why think about bad things? To grow to the next level, to become a 100 store company or a 1,000 store company. We've got 1,500 to 2,000 inquiries for franchise coming for the past 5 or 10 years. And last year I wanted to start off at 7 a month. I went to Delhi for the franchise exhibition. I went to Bangalore for the franchise exhibition. It was a huge thing. We've had people from all parts of the world. We've had people from places far away as Italy. There's been people from Saudi Arabia. We had a whole lot of inquiries. There's a gentleman from there's one of the biggest companies in India that trades in food-related items, packaged food stuff. They were following us for nearly 8 to 9 months. And I also help out in another company as a director. That's a company that does packaging. Printing software for the industry, for the printing industry. I act as a director there. So that company, we were having a board meeting one day, and nearly 10 of these people landed from a Delhi-based company, a very big company, a 1,000 crore company. They just walked in and said, tell us why you will not give us your franchise. So, the options are there, the negotiations are going on. The first thing I'd say is don't get emotional, and don't base anything based purely on assumptions. Business is not purely only on assumptions. It's also got to be factored in with a certain amount of factual equations. You need to have your facts clear. You can't just believe and go forward only exclusively based on assumptions. And number two, there are many times that I've taken some really emotional decisions, and after taking those emotional decisions, I've realized that I've paid the price for it. If I've taken the action that I've taken in relation to that emotional movement, which would have helped me save 1 step, the rebound caused me to lose 4 steps. So then I've realized that sometimes you need to keep your calm all around you. That's why I love the Pondicherry ad, which is calm.com. And I think you need to remain calm. And even if you're angry, I think it's got to be tempered anger. Because once you let go, once you lose your cool, we make mistakes that we can't come back from. You can't go back to a life, or you can't get back with your life with pride and dignity. I think end of the day, we are all human beings, no matter what color, what caste, what creed we are. What matters the most is we need to find the beautiful side of everybody. Be it your staff, be it your manager, be it your customer, and everybody has it. It's just that we love to follow what is the current exciting equation and blindly allow. I believe very strongly that if there are 1,000 people saying one thing and one person saying the right thing, and that one person your heart tells you is right, I think you have to have the guts to stand up and say, this guy is right. Now that I think is the kind of conviction that we need in a place like India. Because I think India is a beautiful country. We can blame it for everything, but we don't learn to appreciate the beauty that it has. You go to Dubai, you realize they have to do the pipe by pipe to keep the flowers up. You have to pour water every day. You don't pour water for the 10th day, your flowers are dead. They're very beautiful as long as they keep pouring water. Here, you have not even looked at a tree for the past 40 years and it gives you mangoes. As Indians, why cannot we believe that on the road, if you put one mango tree or a jackfruit tree or any tree that you want to, and allow the kids who go to school every morning to eat the fruit from the tree and not chase them away as they climb up the tree or pick the fruit. Why can't we believe like that? Why should we start thinking of this as mine and thinking, why should anything become a competition? Why should anything be a competition? I think the poor guy has a right to live as much as I. I've seen a young baby smothered in mosquitoes. That I still remember after 18 years in my mind. Because I remember calling that mother, that lady who was a beggar, and said, please do something with your child, cover it up or do whatever. So sir, I don't have a cloth to cover it. And I think one of our boys went and gave something and covered it. Because I think it is painful that we call ourselves a developed country. We're not doing anything about sorting those things out. Likewise, there was one, I remember when we started the fruit shop, there's one person who seemed to be insane. 2 people actually. One was an oldish gentleman, one was a younger guy. The oldish gentleman was a little stocky, used to wear only what they call a little mundu, they call it, a small half piece of cloth which you used to towel your hair. He used to sit by my entrance of my office, which was across the road. He would sit there. As he went by, he wouldn't even do anything. But people thought he was mad. I made it a point to smile at him every time I went by. 7th, 8th time, he would smile back at me. I realized he was not mad. He had only temporary moments of insanity or loss of reason. But we categorize him and label him mad. Constant mad. He's only mad for those few moments or few seconds. But then he cannot come out of it, and at some point he finds safety in it. People don't disturb him. They leave him be, give him space. And later on, I realized when he came to my shop, he'd come there and ask for a glass of water. The boys would look at us and we would say, give him a glass, keep a glass for him separately, with a straw for him. Not because we were treating him as untouchable, but if a customer saw somebody objected, he was running a commercial business, so keep a glass and keep it clean and neat, make sure he gets it, and give him good water with ice if he asks for it, with a straw. He came, he drank, he said thank you and went. And every time I went, after some time I was nervous if he would not. One day I actually saw him read the English paper. But I found that some places people love to do things that make it romantic. And I think in India we don't learn to appreciate. We only love to find fault. The cops are bad, the policeman is bad, the auto rickshaw man is bad, everybody is bad. But we don't realize they're actually doing service to society. Standing in the sun for 24 hours, you see all the people going by living, in an air-conditioned car and things. And sometimes you get abused and ill-treated. If you genuinely try to do your job, you get abused. And after all these things, if I keep telling you you're bad, you're bad, you're bad, you're bad, 10 days later you will be bad. You have nothing to aspire for. So maybe we need to learn to appreciate. We need to come and say, hey, I saw this cop doing a good job. Bravo. So then tomorrow, seeing that another cop says, okay, they appreciate it, let me also get a name. That's how people become champions, right? How do kids want to become a Beckham or a King or whoever? It's because they see a Beckham who they aspire to be. So I think we need to create a sense of, why there are no awards for cops? Why there are no awards for, the auto rickshaw guy? Or we need to create it at the bottommost. India, I find that there are a lot of people in the government department who do their job very sincerely, who don't actually ask for bribes. And I don't think it's so difficult. And actually, when you look at it, you realize that when I went to Dubai, if you want to change your board design, you have to pay for it. If you want to change the fruit shop on Greams Road cherry to the extreme in by 3 inches, there's a fine for it. Or you have to take permission for it. If you want to say that you're selling your products at 50% discount, you have to go give it to the economic department, take a permission for it. India, you want sale? Call the design guy and say, make my board for the sale tomorrow your board is up. No questions asked. Actually, India is a beautiful country to do business. Just that we blame everything, but we don't look at ourselves. I do a lot of things which I'm very indisciplined about. I've tried my best to work on it, it's just not happening. And I'm heartbroken. I think that is what we need to change. We need to first find out what is wrong with me, then find fault with the neighbor. I believe that if I can purge my anger, I become a better human being. I see life is a lot more beautiful. And I think India is a lovely country, it is a beautiful country. I came to Chennai with 400 rupees, and today I think I've done pretty okay. So why should India be a bad country? It is how you see India. You see it as a beautiful country, it'll pay you back. So we need to aspire and believe that India is the most beautiful country in the world. I want to believe that India has the most beautiful beaches. I want to believe that India has the most beautiful roads. I want to believe that, God has blessed the way. I can tell you 100 million things. And they are what you will learn as you go. I think the most beautiful way to do is listen to your elders. The good words, good advice, sound advice from them take. The ones that don't make sense, ignore. And I think if you can help 5 people, please help 5 people. Irrespective of any assumptions or things. Because I think that's the most beautiful thing, to give. I believe that to grow you need to give. And my dream is that someday I become rich enough. And I hope that my kids learn to take care of themselves. I can give them billions, but if they don't know how to take care of their billions, they can lose it all. But if they know how to take care of themselves, I think I don't need to give them any billions. They need to value, you can live with 100 rupees happily, you can live with a billion rupees unhappily. I think first and foremost, value what's around you and work towards what you want.